two internet strangers to discuss the good and evil of the horror genre. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the terror within the Hallow-Holics Anonymous podcast.
Hi kids, welcome to Camp Sitting Duck. I see some familiar faces out there, along with some new ones. So there's no proof that those kids that didn't return from last year were murdered. Anything could have happened to them. Maybe they're spending the summer with their grandparents. You never know. If I go missing for extended periods of time without warning, don't worry, I'm just in my cabin watching myself dance in the mirror to Goodbye Horses by Q Lazarus. It makes me feel pretty, and I think we could all use some self-confidence in these troubling, fun times.
A few rules before our fun begins. No drinking, drugs, or sex. We cannot be held responsible for what happens to those who break the rules. Remember to stay away from that old cabin out past the abandoned lodge and avoid all contact with that creepy family that lives in the shack by the waterfall. There will be arts and crafts, football, and a short hike to the memorial of the kid that drowned in the lake back in '57. And now for our camp song.
Camp Sitting Duck.
How we love you.
Camp Sitting Duck.
We'll never leave you.
Through the maimings, the stabbings,
The heads in the lake.
the shootings, the drownings.
The death by a rake.
Oh, Camp Sitting Duck.
God, please save us.
From Camp Sitting Duck.
It's gonna kill us.
We're running, we're screaming.
And trapped by the lake
Our summertime slasher.
is wielding a stake.
There's nothing we'd rather,
Do than just leave.
but the curse isn't broke until our parents grieve.
If you hear us all screaming,
Late at night,
try to run away.
try to get away
Try to hide.
from Camp Sitting Duck. Hi, I'm Corey.
I'm Maddy.
And this is Hallow-Holics Anonymous, a show dedicated to all things horror and occasionally Halloween.
So, Corey, where have you been the last few weeks? Because I'm placing all blame on you for the missing episodes. And I realize that's not relevant because I'll have 2 more episodes up before this one.
Right. And I suppose I can accept that. I have been at summer camp. I am the executive director of a summer camp here in Pennsylvania. And I've been stuck in the woods with very little internet service, let alone fancy podcasting equipment.
You had your movies, didn't you?
I did. I had plenty of movies. We do like a camp film festival when the campers go to bed. We actually made it through Friday the 13th, 1 through 6.
Wow.
We also watched 1922.
That's a good one.
Yeah, and what else? There was one other movie. Oh, and we watched a couple episodes of Firefly randomly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, so this whole episode is obviously birthed from my recent experience in summer camp.
I feel like this is a very apropos topic, too, just because it's summertime right now.
Yeah, true. And I mean, I don't know how many of our listeners are at summer camp or have children at summer camp or went to summer camp.
I didn't go to a summer camp that you go stay at, but like one that my mom would drop me off at for a few hours and pick me up. Kind of like, it felt like an after school thing. It was called Summer Fun. And the most horrifying thing that ever happened is that there was a broken fire extinguisher door and I cut my hand on it and bled everywhere. So That was my summer camp experience.
See, I did a bunch of different camps. I did day camps. I did sleepaway camps. This was back when I was a terrible child. It was pretty much my parents trying to get rid of me, at least for the day, if not for like a whole week. I never did one of those like bus you out into the middle of nowhere camps for the entire summer that we see in these movies all the time, but I did a day camp at the YMCA. We did one sleepover night, and they told bad ghost stories, and we were scared. It was a vague ripoff of the Headless Horseman out there, I remember. And then I did an IUP. That's the college in this town. I did their physical activities camp, but I wasn't a very physical child, so they stuck me and all the other non-physical kids in the theater program, which is odd because that's what I work in now. I remember to this day I cringe to think about the solo clown act I did in front of lots of people. I just remember doing this ridiculous clown act to a completely silent, perplexed audience.
You feel like they ever looked at you and said, "That kid's a thespian"?
They probably said much meaner things about that. Performance was embarrassing. Holy shit. And then I did a sleepaway camp called Westminster Highlands, which was a Christian, well, it was for Christian families to get rid of their kids for a week. I did that for a couple years, and I vaguely remember that being fun. I remember it was fairly light on the Christianity. Not that there's anything wrong with that, especially at a camp like that, but yeah, I mean, it was cool. Like, being a Christian camp, we were a little heavily watched, so there wasn't a whole lot of, like, scariness happening. But we did do the, like, raid the girls' cabin. I mean, it was a little less sexually aggressive than the panty raids in your movie.
Yeah, like, your movie. No, my movie.
Yeah, my movie was sexually aggressive. Actually, well, we'll get to this, but both of our movies are very, very sexually aggressive.
Given the setting.
But, yeah. Point is, we did some of the summer camp stuff at my Christian camp.
Even if you're not being shipped away to live in a cabin in the woods for a few months, I do think the summer camp experience can be a milestone in a child's life in just being separated from their parents and feeling like more of an independent person for the first time, you know?
Oh, yeah, and it's also often the first place you get to make out with a girl or boy.
Or both. It depends on how crazy your summer camp is. You never know.
Or how long your summer camp goes, because there's often a lot of switching around. But no, all kidding aside, like, summer camp is a pretty important coming-of-age thing, which is sort of touched upon in my movie a little bit. And the first sleepaway camp is a little more coming-of-age.
And I also think that, this applies to pretty much any kind of horror genre you can think of, but the late 70s and 80s it was an interesting experimental time in horror, and I don't think you could get away with the same summer camp themes that you got away with then, because those storylines often involve children, and we're kind of very scared of anything even related to kids now because of how people might interpret it.
Oh, for sure, just for the sheer fact of how many child molesters are in these camp movies from the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
There's a child molester in all, or at least a rapist in all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's ridiculous. I was going to say something else along those lines, too. Yeah, I think the last one that you could really... When was Friday the 13th Part 6?
Oh, gosh.
That was 87, 88?
Something like that, yeah. I'm not really good at pinning down the years for franchises.
I don't remember, but that might have been one of the last ones involving kids. And that one, those kids were basically just there for brilliant comic relief.
Mm-hmm.
Like, nothing weird or bad happened to them, as opposed to in our movies.
Yeah.
These kids go shit.
And as is usual, I think we also picked some very atypical examples of the genre as well. I didn't want to go with Sleepaway Camp 1 because I feel like that one's been done to death. Everything that can be said about it has been said about it. And
no doubt.
I think part 2 is...
watch it, though.
Yeah, I feel like part 2 is underappreciated.
Part 2, I think, is the best. There's apparently one I haven't seen. There was apparently one released in 2012, and I thought the last one was the one released in 2008, but I guess that's not true. So there's one Sleepaway Camp I haven't seen.
Mm-hmm. And this is the one I picked is the only one with Bruce Springsteen's sister, Pamela Springsteen.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Because they got the original Melissa, they got her back for part 3 and onwards.
Oh, okay. For some reason, it must be the fanfare of Marissa coming back. Because I had thought there was fanfare with Pamela Springsteen coming back. You know, speaking of, and the whole Bruce Springsteen Jersey thing, I get that, like, and the only reason I know this is because of Wet Hot American Summer. There's a throwaway line where the first American summer camps were founded in.
Terrible.
Love that movie. I will you on that. Anyway, so there's a throwaway line about how the first summer camps were founded in the Catskills in whatever time period. So I guess that kind of explains why every single person in all of these movies, they're all from Jersey.
Joycey.
Yeah, like that was... I hope you keep that in, and I hope you keep my disappointing tone response. But no, really, like, Runk the Punk, he's definitely from Jersey. Like, your entire cast is from Jersey. The cast of the first one is from Jersey. I watched The Burning because you confused me, and I thought that was the movie you picked. They're all from Jersey.
You confused me. I said I didn't want to do The Burning.
Well, I watched The Burning, so we can talk about The Burning, too. We probably shouldn't talk about Burning. It's pretty bad. Although it's got, like, a crazy good
We're not talking about The Burning.
Yeah, like, okay, bear with me real quick. Jason Alexander's in it from
Seinfeld.
From Seinfeld, yeah. And that dude, that weird character actor who was in Californication briefly, he had his own show called Key West for a little while. He was the bad guy in Hackers. Mm-hmm. He was in it. Like, there's an interesting group of people that were in this film that went on to do some good character work, but okay, that's all I'll say about
you digress.
Yeah,
because you went with Summer Camp Nightmare.
All right, so before I go off on any more summer camp stuff, do you have anything else to say, or shall we move on to
horror news?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's
horror
news. Shoot, I'm still sharing screens. There we go.
Yeah, I was going to say, are you going to buy House on Haunted Hill, or are you just going to keep fucking waffling on it? I was tired of watching.
I was keeping it for the news, you ass.
I thought you were, should I get it? And you just weren't listening to a word I was saying. So, I have one little bit of news. And it's very small, and it's all I could get, because like I said, up until last night was the first time I've slept in my bed in like a month and a half. So and this is actually huge for me, because I've been waiting for this movie to be released on Blu-ray forever, and it's finally here, and I'm the happiest person on the planet. And I'll probably order it tomorrow. I want to see if maybe it goes on sale for Prime Day, although I'm sure it won't. But Return of the Swamp Thing is finally out on Blu-ray. Mm-hmm. Which is about as bad and about as ridiculous as the first Swamp Thing. But it's got, like, he fights other mutants in it, so it's at least got that B-quality, like, ridiculousness. And I'm so happy I can finally own both of these and I can watch them again. Anyway.
So, speaking of Blu-ray releases, as Corey already knew, because I always forget to turn off screen sharing, the House on Haunted Hill Collector's Edition and the exclusive poster is being released by Shout Factory on October 9th, 2018, which is this year, by the way.
Well, you said this is the original one. This is the Vincent Price one.
No, this is the remake.
Oh, really? Shoot,
yeah.
I'm going to buy that too.
All right, moving on.
I often get the remake of House on Haunted Hill and 13 Ghosts mixed up. So I was actually originally excited that you'd said 13 Ghosts was getting this big release, but I like House on Haunted Hill too, so I'm just as happy.
I like the effects in 13 Ghosts. I like the plot in House on Haunted Hill.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Do you have some more news for us?
Nope. Like I said, I've been trapped without internet for quite some time, or very spotty internet.
So, for those of you who loved What We Do in the Shadows, there is a spin-off series about the police officers called Wellington Paranormal.
So does that mean there's going to be two different versions? Like there's going to be two shows now?
I'm not sure if they're actually coming out with werewolves or if that was just one of those rumors, like the Chodo brothers keep bringing up Killer Clowns from Outer Space Part 2 over and over again. So
at this point, I feel like they're doing it just because they're salty they didn't make it, and they just want to keep torturing it. Yeah.
I think they have fun with it.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, but if you're interested in checking out the first episode, it was actually just recently released. You can find it at tvnz.co.nz. It's a New Zealand thing, but it's called Wellington Paranormal, and it's definitely worth checking out. They take a docu-series, cop-style look on it, and it's hilarious.
Whoa, I can watch that tonight?
Yes, you can. And I have one last, a little bit more of a somber note. Angela Trimber, who was in The Final Girls, the movie, she played the girl who did the striptease, is battling breast cancer right now, and she could use some help. You can pitching in to help her at gofundme.com/step-up-for-Angela. Step up for Angela. She is actually already reached her goal, but I'm sure any extra dollars still counts.
Oh yeah, normally people are pretty conservative on those goals, so I'm sure anything else is going to go to, like, the rent she's not able to make, you know, that kind of stuff while she's sick. Like,
All right, so that was the horror news for the day. So what does that mean? I think it means something else is going to happen now, but I just can't quite put my finger on it. Kids, can you answer for us? No, you can't. All right, Corey, can you answer?
Yeah, next is the Where Are You, Stephen death game.
Or the pre-memorial of the pre-memorial Stephen, Where Are You death game.
Is there a way like the Finding Stephen death game?
Oh, where in the world is Stephen? Whatever his last name is.
I have no idea. He's out there somewhere. He'll hear us one day. He'll hear our cry. We'll find him.
Well, Stephen, let us know where you are.
Yes, find us. We miss you.
All right. So the death game is a game where we pick 5 movies, hopefully related to the topic of the episode. We pick a death that happened in them, and we usually provide a clue if the other person still can't figure out what the movie is.
And in my case, the movies are usually very loosely related, and the clues are terrible because I'm kind of a cheater.
I agree. All right. So, Corey, start again.
All right, so my first clue is post-coital head shears to the neck.
The Burning?
No. But actually, I originally had it falsely labeled as The Burning.
That does seem like a very burning death.
And crap, I think that...
Friday the 13th, Part 3?
No, wait, you know what? You're right.
It is The Burning?
It is The Burning. Yeah,
Okay.
I accidentally labeled it. Okay, here's the tale of this clue. Here's what happened. So, when I first started it, I put down The Burning as where I wanted the clue to come from. I better mark down you got one first. And then I used a Sleepaway Camp clue, because I'm lazy.
Uh-huh.
And then I realized I did it, so I switched everything to be about The Burning, and then I changed the name to Sleepaway Camp. So you're right. You're right.
Does that mean all your answers are The Burning?
Yeah, pretty much. No. I do want to tell you my hint for this one, though, because it was really interesting to me. The director, Tom Malum, is the same guy who did Split Second, which is Rutger Hauer plays a cop who has to fight Satan.
I feel
It's
like
so
that's
good.
probably what Rutger Hauer does in his part-time, you know?
Oh, yeah, I think so, too. But it's like this weird, like, futuristic society, and Rutger Hauer fights the devil. It's real weird, but it's a great movie.
All right. So my first question is, well, my first clue, you know what I mean. Boiled for perving.
Oh, you're going to try to trick question me on this one. So this is either... No, listen to me, because you're trick questioning me, and I know you're doing it. This is either the original Sleepaway Camp or Return to Sleepaway Camp.
Which one is it?
What's the clue?
Unforgettable Twist.
Oh, it's the original then?
Yeah. All right, one for
Oh, I
one.
thought you were being clever.
I was being deceptively clever by
Yeah,
doing
they
the reverse of clever.
Okay, that's true. Yeah, but they do the scene, listeners, they do a similar version of the scene in the 2008 version of Return to Sleepaway Camp. All right, sacrificed to the old gods. Or sacrificed to an old god.
Clue?
Starring Rafe Spall.
I have no idea.
The Ritual. It's a camp movie. They camp it. And technically you could consider
cheater.
Yeah. You could consider the cults at the end at summer camp because they live in cabins and they have like they have organized activities.
Oh
like
my God, I hate you.
It counts.
That does not count.
Just gonna go ahead and give myself a point.
Listeners who are just tuning in, this is what he means by cheating. All right, well, moving on to mine, in which I do not cheat at all. Tommy Pickles plays the guitar on a boat and has a pretty sweet set of pipes. I suppose you could say the guitar plays her. And by that I mean she dies because she's hit with a guitar.
Oh, man. This isn't The Burning, is it?
No.
No. Let me get a clue.
Nuclear fountain of youth in the sewer.
Nuclear fountain of youth in the sewer. Oh, you're specifically... that's that Rugrats movie that they... I don't remember the title of it, but they're grown up and they're on some kind of camping trip.
Is that a horror film?
Sort of. It's scary. There's like a ghost kid that like follows it. Is that not what you're talking about?
Is that your final answer?
Punky Brewster?
No.
Did I get the hint already? I forget.
Nuclear fountain of youth in the sewer.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to go with the Rugrats movie about camping.
And, sir, you have lost your badge of horror expertise because it was Jason Takes Manhattan, Friday the 13th.
Oh, God damn it. You said Tommy Pickles and it threw me off.
It's the voice actress who plays Tommy Pickles.
Oh, that's right.
Nuclear fountain of youth in the sewer. How could you miss that?
I was focused on the wrong thing, and I got sewer confused with coal mine.
And that was a much nicer trick than yours.
That was a little more fair. All right. Assassinated at a press conference.
Clue.
Michael Cera is the victim.
Well, it's not super bad or Year One or...
No, because those weren't at camps.
Yeah, but now I don't know what you consider a camp.
Oh, this is a camp movie. I consider camp movies where people camp.
Oh my gosh. Oh, what's that? That's not... what was that movie called? It had the Backstreet Boys, right? Was Seth Rogen?
What the hell are you talking about?
It was The End of the World.
No, they don't camp in that. If anything, they're in like rich ass actor.
They camp out in houses. Now that I hear myself,
living in a house.
They're hiding. I don't know what to expect from you. Oh, Zombieland, maybe?
No,
oh.
That too was not a film about a summer camp. That was a road movie.
A lot, and The Ritual was not about a summer camp. It wasn't even summer.
Could have been a summer camp. At the end of the movie, that could have been a summer camp for weird Viking pagans.
Okay, Juno, final answer, because I don't know.
No, it's Wet Hot American Summer, first day of camp.
How the hell is that a horror film?
Scary stuff happens in it.
You know what? You are a jerk, my friend. Okay. Mine is Deadly Pom-Poms.
Cheerleader camp?
Oh, I hate you. My clue was Leif Garrett.
Oh, nice. I need to watch that again. The only reason I knew that is because I was looking for death scenes for this and came across that.
It has an iconic cover. It really does.
Yeah, it does. I was actually thinking about watching it tonight after the podcast. Either that or Spirit Camp. Or maybe both.
Yeah, it's not a terrible movie, I'll say, as far as, summer slashers go. It's not a bad one.
All right, so 3-2. Gutted with an axe after a failed wilderness seduction. This is the male getting gutted with an axe.
The Final Girls.
The female is the one failing. No. But the clue does have something to do about Final Girls. Just let me know when you want it.
What's the clue?
The clue is the bad girl is actually the final girl.
The Burning.
No.
I don't know.
Spirit Camp.
Nice.
Apparently, like, I haven't seen it, but I was reading about it today when I was looking for clues for this, and apparently, it's not. From what I understand, it's not a great movie, but it does try to break some of these molds where the bad girl is the one that survives, and she, I guess, is the only one that's nude throughout the entire film, except for the girl in this wilderness seduction scene in the beginning.
All right. So, no time for a kiss. Just a snip here and leave through the window, please, ma'am.
Clue?
Holly Hunter.
The Burning.
Oh, damn. Yes!
Actually, the funny thing about that is I don't even remember Holly Hunter being in The Burning.
Really?
Yeah, I just remember all the dudes.
Yeah, there are a lot of dudes in it. I mostly remember Jason Alexander and thinking, is that his hair?
I think that was the last of his hair, actually.
Maybe it was burned off, or they used shears on it or something.
Could be. Dude, speaking of hair, I shaved my head today.
But what part?
All of it. All that I have is the beard now. I look like this scary mountain, guy.
I thought you were...
I look like Captain fucking Spaulding now.
I thought you were bald already.
No, I was balding. Now I just am bald because I hate stuff that wasn't bald. You probably, most of my pictures had my hair pulled in a tight ponytail back in the day, so that's probably why you thought that.
Do you need to take pictures real quick?
How do you know I'm not already doing that?
All right, go on. Even though you've won, go on. Because I've got a really good finishing question. I
actually really like my finishing question, too. Due to a case of mistaken identity, a zombie's murder in self-defense leads to camp-wide panic. So let me explain that a little bit better. Two dudes are in a basement. One dude gets infected with some kind of, rage zombie virus. His buddy kills him. One of the girls sees the corpse and his buddy holding the weapons, thinks he's the slasher, and freaks out and, drives off.
Clue?
This film is kind of a mix between 28 Days Later and Meatballs, probably. I haven't seen it, but that's what it seems like.
Dude, I have no clue.
It's called Summer Camp. It looks to be a movie where, people get, the 28 Days Later virus in summer camp.
You were just so excited to pick a generic title film, weren't you?
Kind of. I was pretty happy when I found it.
All right. So even though you've already won, I still want to give my question because it's a good one.
Oh, yeah. Tradition dictates you must.
Mm-hmm. I think that crucifix was a little tight.
Clue?
Transvestite nun. Because that is such an awesome clue.
It really is. Not Night of the Demons 2, because that's a private school, not a camp.
And I'm not like you.
You're not. You're the good guy. Shit, I don't know.
Bloody Bloody Bible Camp from 2012.
Oh, that sounds dope, though.
Yeah, it's insane. It's the best.
I'm writing that down. I need to write down. Right, so I'm watching Bloody Bloody Bible Camp.
So Corey defied the odds once again and somehow managed to win.
Oh, that's cold. What else did I say I was going to watch? Spirit Camp and what was that one? Cheerleader Massacre?
Cheerleader Camp.
Oh, Cheerleader Camp.
Actually, that one's on YouTube.
You mean it is on YouTube to rent legally and not stream?
Exactly. That is exactly what I meant and implied.
Exactly. We don't want to encourage those gray area ways to watch movies.
You wouldn't download The White House.
You wouldn't download The White House.
So I think it's time to talk about the movies. What do you think?
I think you're right.
First, before we launch into my film, Sleepaway Camp 2, Unhappy Campers, I would just like to forewarn you that there are spoilers from the very beginning of the film. So get out if you haven't seen the first movie or don't know the twist. Immediately watch the first one and then watch the second one.
Yeah, dude, it's super impossible. if anybody's tuning into Sleepaway Camp 2, like if anybody's here listening to us talk about Sleepaway Camp 2, they know what happened in 1. So yeah, spoiler alert, but if you stick around, you're a moron because everybody knows that there is this twist and if you don't know, just go watch it.
Yeah, and I will say I did see the first one knowing the twist, but I feel like it would have been better not knowing the twist, and I don't want to ruin that for anyone.
Yeah, and I also don't want to put anybody in the awkward situation of going into this movie knowing the twist and spending the entire episode trying to find hints of said twist by staring awkwardly at parts of a teenager you should never stare at. It is inappropriate and wrong. So make sure you watch the first movie first.
Some kids and camp counselors around a campfire discuss the antics of various scary story monsters, including the notorious Angela from Sleepaway Camp 1. Angela just so happens to be one of the counselors running the show here this summer and doesn't appreciate the jokes. One slip leads to dozens as she once again runs wild with her creative murder sprees, all in the name of clean summer fun.
Well, let's be fair here for a second. It's not actually the jokes she takes offense to. It's the things these campers are doing. This is a morality tale.
For Angela, it is, yes.
For Angela. And I mean, so the first one is like Death Wish. Okay? The first one is all about her getting revenge on bullies and that kind of thing who are messing with her and her cousin. This one is more like the Crusades, where she just wants people to kind of it was a stretch to get here, so bear with me. It was the best I could do. But it's more like the Crusades because she wants people and she tries to give people second chances. And that's what the Christians did during the Crusades. They just wanted people to come to their way of thinking, and that's all Angela wants in this movie.
You know what? You're exactly right. As a Catholic, I completely agree with you. This is going to be the first movie that I see from your point of view.
Exactly. I'm glad I could help you.
So, in relation to our a few episodes ago, I keep forgetting that that's not the episode that we're posting before this one, the Urban Legends episode, they talk about fried rat at the campfire. They do,
and I thought of that as soon as I thought of you as soon as they said that. I'm like, oh, we talked about this. I was podcasting.
And it's weird because it's not one of the more often told urban legends either. So I was like, oh, I'm glad they picked that one.
Yeah.
Usually people pick the hitchhiker with the ghost that disappears after you pass the railroad tracks or get to her house.
Yeah, we've actually got one of those here in Indiana, but I'll save that for another episode.
Yeah. But I think Sleepaway Camp 2 needs a lot more attention. It's almost a perfect near spoof, satire, parody, whatever you want to call it, tongue-in-cheek peak of the genre. It's so good.
Oh, it's the best of all the Sleepaway Camps, bar none. It's better, except for the twist in the end of the first one. This is by far my favorite Sleepaway Camp and always has been.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? I feel like I read somewhere that Pamela Springsteen didn't have a great experience on this set. I could be wrong. I could be mixing it up, and she could have had a lot of fun. But regardless, the way the joy in her face every time she murders someone in this movie is so perfect.
Yes.
Yeah, I love it. Oh, I love it so much.
I would like to say though that I did investigate some promo material I found on this incredible website dedicated to Sleepaway Camp 2. You can find it at returntosleepawaycamp.com. And the promo materials were like little newspaper interviews with Pamela Springsteen, obviously Bruce Springsteen's sister, second degree from really famous. She was in Reckless and Fast Times at Ridgemont High. But most of the promo materials and articles, they just really focus on Bruce. In fact, most of them only ask her question about what it's like dealing with people asking her about her brother.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate. That's probably why she got the role, so they could... Yeah. I bet that they really pushed that relationship to, sort of sell the movie, and I bet they were also angling to get a song, which they obviously failed at.
Yeah, and, she also apparently hated horror films as well. Which is surprising, again, given how happy and good just how great her character was in this film.
Oh, God, she was maybe one of my favorite personable killers in any movie.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I loved her.
You know, and honestly, real talk here, I mentally pair her with Jason, her character with Jason, like, as an OTP, one true pair, because, like, Jason has mommy issues, and his mommy's a psychopath and hears voices, so, like, Jason and Angela would be the perfect couple. And she would probably understand him because he doesn't have premarital sex or do drugs.
Oh, for sure. He just, in fact, doesn't even know what those things are.
Yeah, in fact, he kind of kills people who do it, too. And they have a lot in common.
Well, that's the other thing. I think this is really the only true morality-based slasher movie. Like, I think a lot of movies retcon their stuff to say this is a morality tale. Like Jason only kills people that does certain things. And I don't believe that. I think Jason just kills whoever he wants. He's a killing machine. He's a Michael Myers. He just kills whoever's in his way. But this one really was sticking to the morality of the slasher genre that everybody talks about, but you rarely actually see.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, the good girl character in here, Molly, is played by another second-degree celebrity, Renee Estevez, who you might remember from Heathers, Martin Sheen's daughter.
That's right. It was Heathers. I couldn't figure out where I had just seen her from. She was the throwaway best friend.
Now, I have a guilty confession here. I might have basically, in high school, been like Angela, but without the penis or the murdering shtick.
Are you sure you didn't have the penis?
I'm positive.
Huh.
Nope, no penis.
Okay. I mean, you believe what you want to believe, but...
Okay, so I may have killed one or two people, but that's neither here nor there. It's perfectly... I mean, you know, hormones, right? Girl hormones.
So were you...
I can't believe you just went there with that joke. Seriously.
Where was I accused your grandparents of swinging. Of course I'm going to go there with that joke.
Oh my god. So what else were you going to say?
Oh, I don't remember. I would like to know, are you talking about Angela in part 2 or Angela in part 1? Were you like the quiet weirdo or were you like the happy murderer?
I was the quiet
I need you to
weirdo
elaborate.
in middle school and the happy murderer in high school. Once I got really into theater.
Oh, you're one of those. I would have been your friend in middle school and I would have probably hated you in high school.
I was just very judgmental and I stated my opinions often.
Well, I would have still hung out with you in high school, but I would have been super mean to you if you were bubbly and judgy. Like, we would have been friends, but I would have probably been an asshole to you.
I'm still bubbly and judgy.
And I'm still kind of an asshole to you. I just insisted you had a penis.
Point made, alright.
And I accidentally say mean things about your family a lot.
Yeah, a lot.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Maddy. I don't mean to.
Most of the campers in this one are a lot older than the kids from part 1.
Yeah, older. Like they're in their late 20s.
They're basically counselors. So obviously there's a lot more opportunity for boobies. A lot more.
Oh, so many boobies. I can't believe you made me watch a movie with so many boobies. How dare you?
I know, it must have been a challenge for you. I know how much you hate boobies.
Yeah. Not only were there so many boobies, but just about everything that happens in this movie would be considered sexual assault now.
Only intellectual discussion on this podcast, guys.
Yeah.
Boobies are bad.
But no, really, every single interaction between the males and females of this movie is now sexual harassment in one way or another, sometimes straight up assault.
I love that, like, one of the likable counselors who was almost mature, Mr. Mullet, who had a thing for Angela.
Yeah, TC, I hate TC so much.
Did not care that those boys took pictures of the girls, without them knowing, of them taking off their clothes, including Angela, and was like, well, it's not a big deal, but I promise, wink, wink, that I'll tell the camp director about this.
Yeah, he also didn't care about the panty raid or the jockstrap raid. In fact, he went out, saw it was happening, and just turned around and locked his door and went to bed.
Yeah, I mean, there were legit moments where it was like, okay, Angela was right to be concerned.
Yeah, that's why I'm okay with her killing half of this. Like, that's the only way to handle... Like, nobody else was doing anything, so Angela had to take it to this level.
Exactly. You know, Angela, is she really a bad guy? If the kids
like I said, I don't think she is. I think this is the whole Radu argument that we haven't had yet. I think Angela is the good guy.
Well, trust me, we will have that Radu argument when we get to it.
Yeah, but I already forgot all those movies. I'm going to have to watch them all again, but that's okay.
So one of the best sequences in this film is that the campers kind of get together and decide they want to scare Angela. Two of them dress up as Freddy and Jason. Well, you can't really pull tricks on Angela, and pretty soon they're both out for the count, down and out. So she decides...
Well, TC ruins it.
Yeah, exactly.
TC warns her, yeah.
Yeah, and then Angela decides to pull a couple of tricks on her own and takes a chainsaw. And then she strips off the guy who dressed up as Freddy. She strips off his face and becomes Leatherface. This movie rocks.
Oh, hold on. You're making the same mistake I am. There's a couple things here. She didn't use the chainsaw on him. She used his own glove on him, which is impressive that he was able to make a razor-sharp glove with the craft materials supplied to him by Camp Arawak. Okay. Or no, it wasn't Arawak. Arawak was the camp in the first one.
Yeah, this one was Camp...
Green something, or...
Camp.
I hope you're leaving.
Hills.
Camp Rolling Hills, okay.
What were you saying, Matt? What were you saying?
So I thought the same thing. I thought that she was wearing his face, but later on it shows his body and he still has his face. So she actually had that mask. Whether or not it was somebody else's face, I don't know. But if it definitely wasn't Freddy Kid's face. I made a note of that.
Well, it definitely looked like a face.
Yeah.
It's not that Angela is very good at crafts.
Yeah. So that was actually my second favorite scene in this movie.
Oh, what was your first?
I really liked right before she kills the black girl. I forget her name.
Oh, yeah. You'll tell on me.
Yeah, no, not that you'll tell on me, girl. That was this is the one where the girl's in like getting ready to go do something in front of a mirror, and Angela's like looking around the room for a weapon. Remember, she like grabs a coat hanger and tries to like put it over her head and choke herself with it, and she like stabs something with a pencil. I really enjoyed watching her like run about the cabin looking for something to kill her with.
You can tell she's unraveling at that point.
Yeah. But the you'll tell death was really funny too.
Now, when she attempts the murders with the chainsaw and can't get the chainsaw to start.
She's trying to buzz down the door. Yeah, that's pretty great.
That frantic bathroom sex is hilarious. It's the unsexiest, like, sex scene I've ever seen in a slasher movie. They're just stumbling around the room, trying to get their clothes off, stumbling some more. They're just as bad at getting into it as Angela is at trying to get that chainsaw to start.
No doubt. I also like the fact that, like, he kept trying to, like, come up and have sex with her, and she was the one that just kept pushing his head back down. That was a nice role reversal there, too.
Yeah. You really admire how much the other camp, Mr. Mullet, TC, tried to seduce Angela. Like he asked her, in the conversation, he asked her in 5 different ways to go out on a date.
Yeah, and they were always, I don't know, TC was just so awkward and like, I don't know, maybe I felt like he needed to be douchier, or maybe I felt like he got kind of douchey towards the end.
You know, I kind of really liked him in the beginning, too, but I think that's mostly because I've been watching a lot of SmackDown lately, and it kind of reminds me of Ric Flair.
I can see that.
I saw a Ric Flair doll at the store today I really wanted to buy, but I need to save my money.
So I'm glad that TC got his face melted off with his own car battery acid. I really hated that guy.
Well, he did say he was going to kick her ass, and that's just not appropriate, no matter how much you dislike a girl.
No, I agree. And even if you're in a room populated by the corpses of the people she's killed throughout camp.
So there seemed to be one moment in which Angela almost felt guilty, and that was the nightmare of her song. And I'm wondering if that is some way a reference to either Giallo style or the Nightmare in Prom Night 2 or 3. Can't remember which one, but I know there was a trippy dream some guy had. Anyway.
I looked at that more like her sort of... less of sort of her conscience talking and more of her just thinking about her past and what she's been through kind of thing. I felt like that was more of a justification than a like feeling of guilt. But I was really drunk at that point, so I don't know.
You were really drunk and making that note. You're like, this might not be a valid point, but damn it, I've had too much whiskey to be.
But I'm going to make it anyways.
They needed a counselor like Angela in your film, Summer Camp Nightmare.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of had it, but he was the one running the show.
Granted, but he wasn't punishing people for sex.
Not consensual sex. And even still, he didn't punish that. Are we moving on to my movie? Was that your segue?
Not yet, no. But it should have been my segue. I just skipped over a couple notes.
Oh, that's okay.
Here's basically my paraphrasing of the panty raid scene. Come on, we were just having fun stealing their underwear and harassing them. They liked it. Gosh, these girls are so good-natured. They didn't have any problem with this. I feel like I would be pretty upset. But again, I already made it known that I'm kind of like Angela. So I want to know your point of view on this.
My point of view is more of an economical point of view here. Mm-hmm. I think that if it's consensual, it's fine. But underwear is pretty expensive when it comes to, like, ladies' stuff, right? Mm-hmm. No, not really. I mean, you can get a pack for, like, $8 or $9, a pack of, like, 6. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure these aren't the types of girls to be buying, like, inexpensive underwear in packs. I'm pretty sure they're buying, like, the sexy stuff.
Well, we can't all be Miss Moneybags, but go on.
Well, no, like, I don't know. I can see they were having fun, obviously. They enjoyed the raid, and then they planned a jockstrap raid on the fellas, and they did their raid, and in the end, everybody either got their stuff back, or they got to make that hilarious announcement at breakfast the next morning about whose underwear was missing and how many bras and panties weren't found yet. I thought that was cool. So I think I was perfectly okay with that. Well, just because everybody was having fun with it.
Angela was pretty restrained. She didn't kill everyone in the moment, so...
No, and in fact, when she was driving Mare out of camp after that stuff happened, she actually tried to...
give her a chance. Yeah,
she was going to give Mare a second chance, and Mare was the toughest camper she had there. So that's, again, why I think Angela was more on a crusade than just a straight spree.
At any rate, I think we can all agree that Angela is the real victim in Sleepaway Camp 2.
I think she's the real victim in the franchise. She didn't have a choice. Like, I mean, her adoptive mother, who deserves a series of films all to herself.
I think she already had one called Mommy Dearest.
Yeah, that's true. Or some of the scenes in Twin Peaks could have been her as well.
Oh, I almost forgot. Touches her cheek, looks away.
Yeah. But yeah, you can't grow up sane. Number one, you can't grow up sane if a woman is forcing you to be...
A woman?
A woman who's basically turning you into her little girl. And you can't grow up sane if your mother is that insane.
Well, and if your father and your sister died because your father was cheating on his wife with a man.
Yeah. Oh, what a weird gay scene that was, too. I mean, you could tell it was sort of like two dudes who were like... I mean, this was the macho 80s. Mm-hmm. So these two dudes didn't want to do this scene, and nobody wanted to get too graphic with it, so they just put both of the men in the bed, like, touching each other's cheeks awkwardly. That was a weird scene. But yeah, it all... Angela is a victim.
Mm-hmm. Very much so. And you know what? She grows stronger for it.
Yeah, definitely.
Also, speaking of Angela as a homemaker, I feel like if Jason was in her cabin, he would feel right at home. So again, it's another point to say that there should be a sequel, or perhaps a fan fiction I may write in the future, with Jason and Angela finding true happiness.
It should be Angela getting a time machine and saving Jason from drowning in 57 is what it should be.
Well, yeah, but then he wouldn't have quite the same charm that she loves him for.
Well, I mean, he might.
What if Angela rescued him as an adult from being alone in the forest after his mother dies? Like, yeah, maybe. She saw who killed his mom. We'll have to work this out. We'll have to workshop this, and then when we eventually do our theoretical sequel episodes, this will be on the plate.
Yeah, I think I got it, though. I think instead of the final girl in 2 putting on the sweater, I think Angela puts on the sweater, and that's where that all starts.
That's a good idea. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we're onto something there.
And and all the sequels only take place basically around when Angela goes to visit her aunt or something. It's like Jason having his own temporary bachelor days while she's away.
Yeah, I dig that. All right, are we ready to start this?
Yes.
All right.
I think.
Ladies and gentlemen, I've gone through a lot tonight to bring this to you, but my movie is Summer Camp Nightmare. This is kind of a nightmare version of that movie with Christopher Lloyd, Camp Nowhere, but instead of zany fun, we get murder and rape.
Which is kind of fun for some people.
Yeah, for the wrong people, though. But luckily in this movie, and I don't want to ruin too much of this movie because I really like it, but for those people, they do get what's coming to them eventually. So it's kind of a coming-of-age tale wrapped in a suburban Lord of the Flies, trying to be a smart commentary on why revolutions and coups and dictatorships are often doomed to fail.
It's kind of like one of those early 90s movies where the kids are like, yeah, we're taking control, Mom and Dad. We're going to lock you in the basement and eat all the junk food we want. And then it just takes a really dark turn.
Yeah, this is exactly like those, only with dead stuff. And so the way I just described this movie may sound like I hate it, but I for sure don't. I actually love this movie. This was one of my best friend and I's favorite movies when we were kids. And I still like it very much now. Mm-hmm. But now that I understand it, I don't like it as much as I did when I was a kid. And that's kind of because the movie, when taken at face value, is a great B-movie about summer camp. Mm-hmm. Sorry, let me try that again. This movie, when taken at face value, is a great B-movie about a summer camp that's devolving into chaos. It's full of great characters like Runk the Punk, whose name you can't forget because he says it over and over again throughout the movie.
Before he wrestles
Maybe
a pig.
I just remember it. What's that?
Before he wrestles a pig, right?
Oh, yeah, before he wrestles a pig. I don't know, maybe it just seems that way, but it does seem like he's always like, call me Runk the Punk.
I'm Runk the Punk. Yeah.
Runk the Punk. So
Beef,
you've also
beef, Runk the Punk.
Oh, we're going to get to the beef part. We're going to talk about that. So you've got Mr. Warren, who is probably the only actor I'm going to mention because it's Chuck Connors. Chuck Connors is great.
Like one of the few men to be in, I think, like a famous national basketball team and a famous national baseball team.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah, one of only 10 men.
That's weird that you know sports trivia.
I looked it up.
Oh, okay. So, Mr. Warren is the camp's director this year. He's the new camp director. And he just wants these kids to have a fun, wholesome time. He's got a butterfly collection. He rigs the TV so it only plays like the 700 Club on loop. But he does this all in some warped sense of like the kids need to have a wholesome summer. It's like a Christian camp. You know, that's what kids go to Christian camps for.
And you know, he was an excellent casting choice because he had a severe look about him that really worked.
Yeah, it did. And he had a very intense way of speaking, but he also had it also seemed like he cared about what he was saying too.
Mm-hmm. Very much so. Which
is why it was so painful when the whole him getting falsely accused of child molestation to kick off this whole revolution, that really impacted me a lot more than it would have had it been someone who was just intense and not quite as caring.
When all he did was lift a little boy so he could reach some butterflies.
And Franklin the sociopath. We'll get to him. So some of the other characters here, you've got the forgettable good guy, Chris Wade, and his equally forgettable girlfriend. Unfortunately, she is so forgettable that I couldn't remember her name, nor could I remember what she looked like when I went to try to look her up on IMDb to use her name. I got it down to 3 different girls, but I just decided to give up. You've also got, like I said, the leader of the revolution. I'm sorry, they were the Revolutionary Committee? Is that what they call themselves?
Yeah, something like that.
People's Revolutionary I don't know, it doesn't matter. Anyway, this is Franklin, who is such an over-the-top psychopath that he's nearly a cartoon. If this movie was smarter, I'd say that these characters were so over-the-top because our narrator, Donald Poultry, is an unreliable one. Mm-hmm. This entire movie is told through his tapes, which the cops take as evidence at the end of the movie. And I think that because this is his coming-of-age tale as well, he meets the girl, he grows up, and he grows up way faster than he should in this movie. But I think because we're seeing this through the eyes of a 12, 13-year-old kid, I'm not sure that these... if this was a smarter movie, I'm not sure if these extremes were... Oh, shit, how do I put this?
Necessary?
If this was a smarter if this was a smarter movie, I think that these extremes would have been done on purpose. But I think that everybody's a caricature of who they would be because the movie's a B movie. You know what I mean? I don't think it's smart enough to back it up.
In our Tales from the Crypt episode, I mentioned how much I really, really hate narration unless it's, like, excellent, like it was in the particular episode we focused on in Tales from the Crypt. And, again, my problem with narration is that it feels like it's always tacked on at the end because producers or test screen audience watched the film and they said, this scene going into this one does not make sense. You need to give us a reason why this would happen after this. So they do a voiceover as a shoddy, last-minute, lazy way to explain the story. And that's what this felt like.
Yeah, generally I agree, but I think this movie had some things that were going on that it really helped to see it from the eyes of a child. Like, when he talks about... Again, I don't want to ruin too much, but when it talks about the girls carrying that one character off, who was also in Friday the 13th Part 5, mind you, when they carry him off and Donald says something to the effect of, and they carried him off that day and we never saw him again, I thought his narration there was very effective. And the fact that they introduced that as soon as he got off the bus with him talking onto those tapes and they actually used it on evidence, I thought it was kind of... a good use of narration, but generally I agree with you.
Well, there was one particular moment in which it really bothered me because it was dumb. And it was when he said, and then we met that night because we knew he had gone too far, or something to that effect. When they decided they were going to stage their coup.
Oh, yeah, and then they actually had the meeting. Yeah, you're right, that was...
That jump was too obvious.
But I kind of get where they were going with it. I agree with you that they didn't need it there, but I think that because this is not a super well thought out movie and a well done movie, I think that they probably went that route just because they thought since they already had narration for everything else, they should have narration for this too, even though they were completely stating the obvious.
I will say that I still enjoyed the movie, and it was still a lot better than you would have expected with this cast and budget.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I really, really enjoy this movie when I take it as a B movie about a summer camp devolving into chaos. Mm. When it tries to be some sort of allegory for the problems in maintaining a revolutionary dictatorship, it sort of loses the plot for me. And I mean, I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to be like, hey, look at this summer camp as a metaphor for these larger world problems. Like, look at this mini society reflecting real world situations. But it just doesn't... Yeah, and it just doesn't work for me when you've got these teenage characters doing bad covers of excellent 80s punk songs like Runk the Punk does with Fear's Beef Bologna.
Oh, that's a real song? I thought it was like... Oh, God, that's a real song?
It's called Beef Bologna, and it's by Fear, Maddie. Can you guess what the song's about?
I'd assume a penis of some sort.
Because it's about dicks, Maddie.
So it's
that song's not about
like
it's not about deli
butcher with his variety of deli meats that he offers.
No, it's about dicks.
And his excited Jewish customers, female of the female persuasion.
No, it's not. It's not.
Well, I'm shocked, sir. I am shocked and appalled.
In Fear's defense, this is not one of Fear's.
Now I understand Warren's outrage.
It's true. So, in defense of Fear, real quick, because they are one of my favorite punk rock bands from the 80s, a lot of their stuff is this sort of like shock rock stuff, but Beef Bologna is not one of their better songs.
Really? I'm glad.
Yeah. I will point you in the direction of some good Fear songs in the Discord later, but yeah. Anyway, so I'm not going to ruin this movie for you listeners because I definitely think it's worth watching as long as you're not fooled by the political undertone. This is the only summer camp movie of its kind as far as I'm concerned. This is not a slasher movie. This is barely even a horror movie. This is a movie about a bunch of kids trying to make their summer camp better by following a sociopath dictator
who was only
down a
missing
road
a
that they shouldn't go.
Mustache.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, the closest thing this movie has to... Like, the closest movie you can compare this to is really Camp Nowhere, but that's a movie for kids.
Mm-hmm. This movie is almost middle schooler PG-13 friendly. I mean, even when they hack the television signal and the porn or whatever you want to call it they're watching, it's really vanilla. And they get, like, unbelievably excited at these women dressed like dancing in pretty much bathing suit level underwear. I mean, they're thirsty.
True. Yeah, they're very thirsty, and I get that. But I think that when the movie does get brutal, the brutality is like the rape scene and the way that whole thing is handled by the Revolutionary Society or whatever is definitely not for kids. Like there are lessons this movie tries to teach. I mean, granted, it's rectified with the sort of street justice thing.
But why?
The brutality in this movie, to me, overshines any sort of gore or horror aspect it would need. You know, it's not a kid's movie because it's brutal, not because it's gory, because it's not, you know?
Yeah, and you know, I felt like this could have gone further. I felt like it was a movie that had great bones, but not great delivery towards the second half of the film.
Oh, I agree, because they were focusing too much on the revolution and the dictatorship aspect. If they would have kept this as like a kid-run camp that was in chaos, it would have been a lot more interesting and a lot more relatable to the age group it was sort of trying to hit. This was trying to hit late teens, early 20s. Yeah. It doesn't give a shit about what's going on in Russia in the 80s or what's going on in Cuba. You know, they just want to see some crazy movie about a summer camp.
Yeah. And I will say this, when the kids are cheering about the new rules right before they lock Warren and all the adults up, why are they so excited about getting rid of butterfly hunts and nature walks? I mean, why would you get rid of that? Am I old? Those two sound like very enjoyable activities.
No, they do sound cool, but I think part of the problem, and I never, like, these camps sort of stopped being what they were in the 80s. It's after a certain point, kids didn't bus 8 hours into the middle of nowhere to spend a month or two in the woods.
Yeah.
People couldn't afford it, and it just wasn't done anymore. Like, camps were normally a week long. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and to that point, this place is legit understaffed, and Warren even mentions it from the beginning, but why would they have gone through with this camp with so few adults? They didn't even have enough adults to pay attention to the kids swimming. That's just begging for a bloody children's military coup.
Oh, I have two things to say here. First, what a weird scene that was when poor Donald had to get out of the water and bend over for that nurse to look at his ass. Yeah. And she was just like, oh, that's just heat rash.
Yeah, and they went back and drowned? Or tried to?
Yeah. Oh, and that was another sociopathic scene with Franklin that was great, when he was just watching it, smiling, realizing he could go pretend to be the hero.
Yeah, let me look around a little, enjoy the sight here. Okay, now I'm going to go save him.
What was my second point that I was just about to make? Shit. I hate it when I tell the listeners I have another thing to say and then I forget what I have to say.
Well, I will say that all of these children are unusually stupid because Franklin has a gun.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you think he's the good guy if he has a real gun?
Well, that's the other thing. Like, it very quickly devolves from camp party to everybody doing what Franklin says out of fear because he's the one with the gun. And that's how that stuff would work. You know what I mean? The dictator is more often than not the scariest of the bunch.
And to another point, going back to the fact that I feel this movie could have gone further, there's not really any dissent from the children. There's only dissent from two of the teenagers, and then eventually the main character. But it's like you'd think the kids would be crying, or some of them would be upset that the grown-ups aren't in charge anymore. Some of them would, because a lot of kids only trust grown-ups, not angry teenagers.
True.
Why are so many of them going along with this? Why aren't some of them starting to get scared? Why don't we see that?
Because I think there is some hints, there are hints throughout that these kids are being indoctrinated just in a very quick way. There's the propaganda scene where all the kids are writing postcards home, and one writes what's really going on, and he's like, no, do it again, just copy this, kids. I think that and this is kind of a smart thing the movie does, we get little hints that these kids have been indoctrinated by Franklin throughout the movie. So I'm sure that there were kids that were like that, but I'm sure that much like Donald, they were handled in a fairly intelligent and sensitive way to bring them back into the fold.
I guess I would have liked to have seen a little more of that, just to kind of twist that knife in your gut. I think it would have had more of an impact.
Yeah, and keep in mind, like, at least when I was a kid and I was hanging out with people so much older than me, I felt cool. Like, even if they were doing something bad, I'm like, all right, this is cool. The older kids are doing it. You know, this is cool.
Yeah, and I understand that. I just don't think all of the kids would have felt that way.
No, I agree, but I think kids are dumb too, so I think it's pretty easy to get them back on your side if you need to.
Yeah. And you know, this would be an excellent film to show a camp director who won't hire more staff.
That's what it was. That's what I was going back to. So you mentioned about how the staff carries on with not enough staff for the camp. Mm-hmm. I just went through this at my summer camp. I mean, it wasn't as bad as, like, Summer Camp Nightmare. This is sort of
the extreme.
Yeah, that's the extreme version of what I went through. But I had, I started out with a near 1.5 to 1 ratio counselor to camper. I had more campers than counselors, but I had to fire a couple and one couldn't come back. I ended up with about a 2 to 1, actually slightly worse than 2 to 1 camper to counselor ratio by the third session. So it's very easy to fall, especially like summer camps don't make a lot of money and a lot of them are non-profit. So they rely on, like my camp relies on grant money and donation a lot. So if this camp in Summer Camp Nightmare isn't getting that money that they're used to getting, which they may not have been because there was a recession either just starting or happening.
You could see a lot of tension weighing on the Warren character. And again, I think he was the best actor in the film. Like, there was more behind his stress and his anger with these characters. And honestly, he was pretty fair.
Oh, I think he was too. I think he would have been, aside from the wholesome, like, aside from taking away the TV in the first place and making it only play 700 Club, I think that he genuinely wanted the kids to have a good time and he wanted the kids to learn, which is, I think, kind of the tragedy of his character.
Yeah, I mean, they even have a mandated day for the kids to take over, so.
Mm-hmm. Which I bet they never had again if that camp reopened.
No, I doubt that camp would reopen, but you never know.
So yeah, that's what I got for Summer Camp Nightmare, a movie that hits quite close to home after the last couple of weeks of my life.
Well,
luckily everybody in my camp survived this year, though.
All I can say is, Dina, it looks like you painted out of the lines with your finger painting. We might have to lock you into the midnight cabin. Don't worry, I'm sure you'll wake up tomorrow. Anyway, before we go to bed tonight, campers, let's talk about a few concluding statements. What do you think, Corey?
I think that's a great idea. Why don't you go ahead and start, Maddie?
All right. Well, if you'd like to find our blog, you can follow us at hallow-holic.blogspot.com or hallow-holic.wordpress.com.
You can also reach us at Twitter by searching Hallow-Holics or at Nowhere23. We can also be... Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
please.
No, you continue. You continue, sir.
Yes, ma'am. We can also be found on Podpedia, which is a wiki sort of site with a bunch of podcasts that you can learn about. I recommend checking it out.
What's the portal?
Because they forced me to say that.
What's the portal?
I have no idea.
It's HHA.
I don't even know what that means.
Hallow-Holics Anonymous.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Do all that stuff.
And if you want to contact us, you can go to hallow-holics@outlook.com.
Yeah, and Steve, if you're out there, as always, email us, tweet at us, Facebook me, buddy.
All right. And as always, goodbye from Hallow-Holics Anonymous. Enjoy your stay with Camp Sitting Duck.
And remember, any axes found in trees may be evidence. Find your counselor.